All right, Scott. We are doing the physical fire tier list now. All right, I'll update it. Starting out with Scott from Final Fantasy II. Where you at, buddy? There you are. You have a BSB and a Super Soul Break. Your BSB grants you Attach Fire, Joy, and your Super Soul Break is irrelevant. What does your BSB do? Spell Blade 15% boost to 3 to the user, and Dark Bargain on second command 2 group attacks. That is passable. But I believe that is the only thing you have available to you. This is your BSB. Why is Cloud there? Because there's a 5-star Spellblade that he can use with his USB and deal a ton of fire damage. Well, Scott does not have a Legend Dive. Yeah. All right, yeah. Cloud has samurai abilities too. I'm tempted to put him in B because I think his burst is good. But I don't think I should. If I'm on the fence for C and B, I think I should place him in C because he has this character means nothing to the game written all over it, and he has no future most likely. No 4-hit commands is fine. With the ability upgrade, you're going to be using 5-star abilities anyway. Ooh, Refia. I've never heard of her before. Refia, USB, 10 single attack grants attach fire, critical damage plus 50%, quick cast 1, and quick fire quick cycle to the user. Pretty good. Pretty good. As long as she crits, she does 1,000,000 damage. So she needs a way to crit. So she needs an external source of critical plus, which she can sort of get from a 5-star monk ability. But she can make certain that she gets with her BSB. Dance of Carnage, 8 single attacks, grants haste. The Dance of Carnage status, attach fire and burst mode to the user. Dance of Carnage is critical hit percentage set to 50%. So as long as you attack twice, you are probably going to crit once. But most of the abilities that she uses, including her burst command 1, are 4-hit. So there's a very, very high probability that she will crit. Gaining advantage from that critical damage plus 50%. Regardless, it doesn't matter because she quick cast 1 and then her fire quick cycle means that every time she uses any fire attack in the game, including soul breaks, it means she gains another charge of quick cast on top of that. And with her legend materia of gaining attack plus 50% every time she deals a critical hit for the next attack, means she gains a lot of attack, which means a lot of damage even above soft cap, and her LMR is 25% chance to dual cast fire abilities to deal fire damage. Are we done yet? Legend Spheres? Perfect. This is going to be much bigger deal than it has been on previous tier lists, because there are many different types of damage that can be dealt. There's elemental damage, there's ability type damage, there's flat physical damage. You prefer not to see ability damage, you prefer to see flat physical or elemental. In Refia's case, she gets fire damage plus 9%. This is good because once she is done life siphoning at the start of the fight, if you do that at all with her, then all damage that she does in the entire fight will be increased by 9%. Yeah. I don't think there's any way in which Refi is not S tier. I was actually not as big on Refia in comparison to the other fire monks until very recently, when I started looking into the 4-star Magicites and looking at their massive defense and resistances. I think Refia, her usual problem is the fact that there is such a thing as a damage cap in the game, because with her BSB and USB together, she does a lot of damage. Because the critical damage plus 50% from her USB stacks with the critical damage plus 50% from her Command 1 on her BSB. So she does such an extreme amount of damage that the highs and lows, when she doesn't crit, she doesn't seem like she does enough. But when she does crit, then she exceeds the damage cap, so you're not seeing the full benefit of what she does. But what I've seen in the 4-star Magicite dungeons is that the defense statistics of the bosses are so high that you actually need to be doing the kind of damage that Refia does with all of these crit damage buffs in order to see the damage cap to begin with. So I had my faith redeemed in Refia. And with my faith redeemed in Refia, I feel comfortable in adding her to the S tier of physical fire damage dealers. Because there will only be a couple people on this entire list that can match her. And Refia is only a couple events away from getting the USB and LMR and Legend Dive that get her there. November 2nd. Very close. Galoof. Galoof. Galoof is on fire. USB. We can skip that because this BSB is attach Earth. So let's move to something else that's actually relevant. Galoof BSB2, 8 single attack causes Imperil Earth. Okay, moving on. Galoof's Super Soul Break Inner Peace grants high regen, critical chance 50%, and attach fire. Oh, attach fire is to the user, but high regen and critical chance 50% is bestowed upon the entire party. It's actually a really good Super Soul Break. And lastly, we have Galoof's BSB1. It causes Imperil Fire, and the commands are less damage focused and more focused on the fact that he can give a 25% maximum HP heal to the lowest HP party member. So he's not all that damage focused, but he does have Imperil Fire, does fire damage, and he's fire utility focused, which is fine. Just fine. As a fire damage dealer, we're probably going to have to stuff him down in C tier. His BSB 1, in my opinion, has suffered And he's definitely his newer toys are both earth based, so they moved him in an earth direction instead of fire. So Gloof's Heart of Flame has been tread upon. Gilgamesh is probably a bit strange for people to see Gilgamesh here, but the thing about Gilgamesh, he has a USB that pairs well with samurai abilities. All's fair. 10 single attacks grants X mode legendary swordsman, high retaliate, and Dance of Carnage. As we saw on Refia's BSB, Dance of Carnage gives him 50% crit, which means he has 50% crit and high retaliate and X legendary swordsman. Is just attack plus 30%. Why? Even though that is all non-elemental, why he gets included in the fire area is because he pairs together really well with fire abilities. Because he gets Dance of Carnage and High Retaliate on his USB, that allows him to use Warring Flame, the new samurai ability that we just got, that grants plus 50% critical chance if the user has Retaliate or High Retaliate. So if you're keeping track, that means he gets a 100% chance to crit when using this ability, which increases its damage to by 50%. So that effectively makes this a 4.5 multiplier over 4 attacks fire ability. That's really strong. So his USB plus this ability is actually a fairly decent form of fire damage. Is it good? No, not really, but he deserves to be on the list. And Gilgamesh, I'm scrolling here back and forth, but I'm just not finding Gilgamesh. He's one of the most popular characters in the entire universe of Final Fantasy. There's no possible way they could have forgotten to give him a legend dive. What? No, they did. He doesn't have one. DNA dropped the ball on Gilgamesh pretty hard. C tier until proven otherwise, which, please, DNA, do something about that, because it's sad. Oh, Bart's. Oh, boy. Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. I agree, Payaso. If you had double cast Samurai. No, not D tier, because he pairs so well with the samurai ability. The future of the game is abilities. And getting a 4.5 multiplier after adding up all the the crit and stuff is pretty potent. So anyway, Bart's. It's a long list of stuff. What we're looking for here on Bart's is he has an OSB for the fire element. His USB, Chosen Traveler, is fire element and grants Spellblade Barrage to the user for 15 seconds. Spellblade Barrage is a slightly powerful X mode that gives him a global cast time buff of ×2. as well as a chase for 4 different elements, depending on which Spellblade he uses to pair it with. So if you are in the middle of the X Spellblade Barrage and you use the Fire Spellblade ability, then you will chase with a Fire Spellblade Chase. Same thing for Wind, Water, and Earth as well. And they've definitely memified Bartz and given him a BSB2, a BSB3, a BSB4, and a BSB5, all matching the elements that are on his Spellblade Barrage and his OSB. But we're looking at fire right now. Bartz is going to rear his stupid little head in 4 different of these tier lists, thanks to DNA. Thanks to Japan liking Bartz so much. I don't really mind. I have Bartz's USB, and it's probably the funnest soul break I've ever had the pleasure of owning. I think Bartz is A tier with just his USB. Possibly S tier, which kind of drives home the point about how silly it is if he is able to get entrusted and gets cast speed modification, like from Noctis or something, that allows him to use a bunch of soul breaks, as well as take advantage of his X Spellblade Barrage. Because then he can start ripping stuff up. Yeah, it's A tier on 4 elements with a single relic. But I think he ascends to S. Honestly, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I have him posted down here. And I'm going to talk about it in length. God, I should have just used the scroll bar. Bartz has special consideration. He's a very special character in the game. Because he does so much at such a high level that you're not supposed to be able to do what he does. But he does. But with his Legend Dive, which is disgusting, by the way. He gets 35% chance to dual cast Spellblade abilities, and his LMR is a 10% chance to triple cast Spellblade abilities. Which, thank the heavens, doesn't trigger multiple chases, but it's still insanely powerful. We're going to have to give Bartz S, and know in the future that I'm just going to give Bartz S on every single one of these 4 elements that he does. So that'll allow me to skip past him in the future. Locke is next. Locke actually has quite a few soul breaks to his name as well. First thing we're going to look at, though, is his USB. Oh, actually, since he's a chain holder, we're going to look at his chain first. He has Atomic Dive, which, in my belief, we will be seeing this December in our Winter Festival. Chain is 11 single attacks of 0.72 each, very typical, and his additional ability, as well as the chain, that all the chains get is a defense and resistance minus 50% debuff. So, being elemental in nature, it is very, very strongly keyed towards content that, you bring elemental teams to. And the first one that comes to mind, I say it a lot, but Magicite. And the unfortunate thing here is this additional ability on top of his chain. Say, for instance, Titus gets 11 single attacks at 0.72 each. Water chain plus 20%. And quick cast 2 to the entire party. That's something that's beneficial no matter what. But Locke's chain, unfortunately, is defense and resistance minus 50%, which is fantastic outside of Magicite, but not so great inside. The 80% reduction means that's a minus 10% defense and resistance. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, too much. It doesn't make it a bad chain, because at the end of the day, it's a chain. And that means it's probably one of the most overpowered soul breaks in the game. Right now, we're moving. I think we moved past the era of BSBs, and we're moving into USBs now and abilities. And because the game revolves around USBs and abilities and chasing and fast casting with X modes and stuff like that, that means there's a lot of hits to go around. And that's why it's my belief that we'll be entering or have already entered the chain meta. So chain soul breaks are just gross by default. And the bonus of defense and resistance minus 50% is, while regrettable and could be something better, doesn't make it not overpowered. So as the physical fire chain holder, Locke already has a very, very, very high position on this tier list, and luckily he doesn't stop there. Locke and his USB Burning Steel. 10 random attacks, causes Imperil Fire 20% for 25 seconds, and grants Flame Hunt follow-up to the user. So let's go take a look at what Flame Hunt follow-up is. Cast Flame Hunt after using a fire attack. Thanks. Flame Hunt follow-up is a 1.20 multiplier chase, which isn't high, but it's okay. Take Sabin's, for instance, which we're going to be looking at very soon, is a 2.1. So it's a little more, or a little more than half of the power of a normal chase, but the benefit to this chase is the 35% chance to Imperil Fire 10% for 15 seconds. Normally, in order to hit the max Imperil on a boss, you're generally looking for more than one Imperil to do so. So they can cast them together for 40% and then add on another at some other point. You have one of them generate Soul Break faster so they can get another Imperil, or you use a Magicite to Imperil the boss. Because Locke's USB does this chase every single time you use any fire attack. Actually, it's probably fire ability, because I do not believe you can chase after a soul break. So fire attack is kind of misleading. So it's every time you use a fire ability, you will be chasing with this 35% chance to minor Imperil, which means that Locke is very adept at reaching the Imperil cap of 60% by himself, which is a really powerful thing to have on a team. So Locke with chain and USB is really, really potent at enabling the fire damage potential of your entire team. And with the USB and the CSB together, he can just stack it by himself if that's what is required. And now we're going to take a look at his Trance LM2 that gives him Phoenix Mode when he falls below 20% HP. which seems pretty damn nice. Attack plus 35% and cast speed times 2. It's a global cast speed modifier, and it will affect everything. So that means faster chases, faster adding to the chain. Locke is just a complete package of fire damage, and he also deserves S tier. This is a scary looking list. We've got top and bottom, S and C, all the way. And it's not gonna stop. There's so many S's in fire. It's so weird. Sabin is next. Oh yeah, Locke gets an OSB as well, but it stinks. Am I not going to look at Locke's BSBs? I guess it's BSB2. I guess so. I don't want to spend too long on a character, I guess. Yeah, and this is just physical. There's a lot of good fire characters. Yeah, shortcast OSB, but whatever. Absolutely not worth the multiplier that is shaved off. Anyway, Locke's BSB1, Mirage Phoenix is in Peril Fire, and he mugs. Anyway, it's not good. Basically completely taken over by his USB. The commands are pretty much pointless. I think he has a mug command, so that's fine. That's better than what he could get with an ability. But you're pretty much going to be using abilities with Locke, whether it's probably Ruby Spark, because it's his strongest fire ability. And Locke's BSB2 is Attach Fire. So this is a nice thing if you want to add it to his USB or his CSB. But the commands are, like, they're modern, so they're meant to enable the damage output of abilities. Another mug. Instead of Mug Bloodlust from his Birth Soul Break 1, he gets Mug Power on his command 2. And then fast casting for single range attacks is fine. Is a fast cast 1.88 as good as a full cast time 3.8 on Ruby Spark? No. And here you see burst commands like really falling behind 5-star abilities. It's their multipliers are generally pretty damn weak, and they need to make up for it, and they usually don't. So Sabin. Sabin, USB, Blazing Pummel. 10 single attacks, attack and resistance plus 30% to the user for 25 seconds, grants Attach Fire, instant cast 1, and Phoenix attack follow-up. Dreamload. Please keep calling him Dreamload. So we got Phoenix attack follow-up. This is the one we compared to blocks Flame Hunt. This one is a full damage chase of 2.1, but it only gets that level of damage if you have 6. Oh my god. If you're doing 6 attacks, and the way to reach that is to reach a attack threshold of 1014, which is easier than you think it is, with Sabin specifically. Which makes this one of the premier fire USBs in the game. The Instant Cast 1 is a fantastic addition. It didn't need it to be powerful, and now it's just super powerful. And that's all he needs, because he can use Fires Within with that, and he's good to go. I don't see anything else of his other than his OSB, of course, which is a good OSB. That's really worth using in any regularity after that. And as has been stated in chat, when a person's BSB isn't all that impactful on their grade, I'm not going to go into it. Just to save a little time. You can do that on your own time by going to Enlier's spreadsheet and taking a look at it if you're interested in a character. But what I want to do is establish the strength and why a character deserves the grade that they do. And Sabin, it really is just all he needs is his USB. That's how powerful this is. And his OSB totally helps too. And if you look at his legend materia, he gets a 35% chance to dual cast abilities that deal fire damage. So, adds that to the mix as well, and Fires Within is going to start doing some serious damage for you. And that really nice 6-hit chase is going to be perfect for him as well. And if you've got his OSB, that's cool too, because that's always a good thing to have on a character, as long as they're good. And Sabin is extremely good. So another entry to the S. I assure you that this will not last forever. Fires Within does get buffed to 4 hits, yes. Not only does it get buffed to 4 hits, but it gets an increased multiplier as well. Drim, yes. What do you mean the appearances of trance modes? Like, oh no, I see what you mean. The wiki? The Final Fantasy wiki? I know they have a lot of the sprites listed on that that site. Someone could link that in chat for you if you haven't found it already. So Cyan is next. And Cyan's always been a bit of a joke, but he's actually not that bad because he's, believe it or not, a better version of Gilgamesh. Rather than Gilgamesh's Dance of Carnage, what Cyan gets instead is a fire entry on his USB, which is great. Like, because Gilgamesh has a non-elemental entry. And trades the Dance of Carnage for critical damage plus 50%. As well as trading the X Swordsman thing, which is, I think, plus 30% attack for attached fire. So Cyan uses that same 5-star samurai ability and does a lot of damage because he has high retaliate active. That means he gets plus 50% chance to crit on that samurai ability. So all you need to do is, crit once and you're getting benefit of that from that critical damage plus 50%, as well as the attached fire. So he just does a lot of damage with that ability and this USB. And he does have a little bit of extended capability with his BSB. It's non-elemental and increases crit chance to 50, or grants crit chance 50% to all allies for 25 seconds. So that's a nice buff to give to the party as well. Where do we put Cyan though? I think because of the swingy nature of the damage that he's doing. Oh, Sign, you assume that he has double cast Samurai. He does, 35% chance to dual cast Samurai. So we're actually considering tossing Cyan an A. Bushido Oblivion. Seriously, with a name like that, how can he not be A? Yeah, I think with that dual cast Samurai, he's worthy of A. Stab and fire damage, Cyan, Samurai damage. Oops. That's fine. He doesn't benefit from this on his USB cast itself. Cloud is weird. Cloud is weird. Like Bart's, but weirder in a way. So Ultra Cross Slash, which is Cloud's USB, does something that nothing else in the game does. ×2. Ex-Soldier and Cross Slash to the user. Ex-Soldier increases physical damage dealt by 30%. Nothing else in the game does that. That is a gigantic damage boost for what I can't even fathom what the reason that is for being here, because everything else is so powerful. And it allows physical attacks that deal physical, missing HP, fixed or fractional damage to break the damage cap, which is necessary even after abilities get buffed to 4 hits. Because that increased physical damage of 30% is just... it's so large. It's so much damage. And Cross Slash sets his crit rate at 100%. So not only are you increasing your damage output by 30% flat, but you're also increasing your damage output by 50% flat, with, you know, setting your crit rate to 100. So what this does is it makes it so that anything that Cloud does is very powerful. And from that point on, you basically just look at his capability with his ability pools, and we see a bunch of things. And for this case in particular, Physical Fire, he has access to the 5-star Fire Spellblade, as well as the 5-star Samurai abilities. And all he does is he uses those, crits 100% of the time, does 30% increased damage again, and just does a sick amount of damage just using his USB. Even if the USB is Wind and Dark entry, it doesn't actually matter. Is Cloud top tier damage in each of these categories? No. He is right now in global. Yep, we're doing the tier list updates. He is right now in global because with abilities, so many abilities, including these 5-star Samurai abilities, or 5-star Spellblade abilities, they only have 2 hits. So the ability for him to break the damage cap is crucial. It's crucial because 20k is not enough. It cannot contain the Cloud. But 4 hits can. And a lot of other people start seeing more benefit from those abilities, where Cloud used to be the only one that could, because he's the only one that could break damage cap. Now things have changed a little bit, and because he gets all that damage buff, he does lose out to people. And I'm on the fence about adding him to S tier for anything but Oh, wind, absolutely. Right, right. So he's not. He's not S. I don't think so. I'm gonna throw him an A. But it's still saying something. The fact that he can do this. Vincent. Vincent's USB, Lucretia's Lament. 6 group hybrid ranged attacks. By hybrid, it means that depending on the higher statistic, attack or magic, it'll do that type of damage. Grants attach fire, X Hellhound. Quick cast 1 and Hellhound attack or Hellhound magic to the user. So it'll give you Hellhound attack if your higher statistic is attack, or Hellhound magic if your higher statistic is magic. So Vincent's a true hybrid, and he can do both extremely well. And what X Hellhound does is it grants him a charge of Quick Cast 1 every time he uses a fire ability. So he just chains Quick Cast, as we'll see a lot of USBs like this. The last one was Refia's, I believe. So really, this is it. This is all we need to look at, I think, with Vincent. Because this allows him to be either a physical character or a mage. He does both very well. His BSB, though, deserves some mention because it's a Radiant Shield BSB. So, if you need it, or if you feel like, I don't know, using it, I don't know. I feel like if I was just using his USB, I would use it alone. Maybe not currently, because he needs his BSB to hit 4 times. But once he gains the ability to use Ruby Spark and Chain Faraga at 4 hits each, or Meltdown at 4 hits, then I think he moves past using his BSB most of the time. His Legend Dive is really what pushes him from A to S. Because his LMR is 25% chance to dual cast abilities that deal fire damage, while his Gallian Beast Trance mode gives him another ×2 cast speed modifier, but this one's global. So if you get this off at the beginning of the fight, then you're really looking at something. So it's a global cast speed modifier that goes along with the X mode that he gives that gives him quick cast every time he uses a fire ability. So they all stack together and just gonna make him attack obscenely quickly. What's up, Skillet? You want to be on TV? Yeah, so Vincent really can't be taken out of S. He was on S the last time we made this list, and he still stays there. What's nice is that eventually Vincent will be able to use one of the 2 plus fire 6-star weapons that gets entered into the game. One is for Irvin, the other is for Mustadio. Until then, I don't think he has access to a 6-star physical weapon, but he does have access to a 4-star magical. But we'll get there when we do magical fire, because he's there too. There is a drop-off between his magical and his physical capability, but it's a small concern considering all the other things that he can do. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, he also has support for Darkness 5, which means he can use the not Memento Mori, but the physical version of Memento Mori to buff his attack, as well as Wrath into his USB, if you need to. But you're probably just Wrathing into his USB because you only have 2 ability slots. Dark Bargain, yes, he can use that. I prefer the longer buff, the Doom better. Yeah, Death Rose is a 30% attack in Doom. That's the one I prefer. But regardless, because he's a Wrath Mage Warrior thing, you're probably going to be using that paired with the physical fire ability that goes with. Unless you're getting entrusted to and you use his BSB as well. In which case, you want to be doomed because he gains extra multiplier on his BSB commands when he is doomed. So you'll want to use the 5-star or the 4-star darkness ability that dooms you. Oh, wow. So if he has Doom, that's an 11.44 multiplier on his magical command. That is about equal to Chain Faraga. Chain Faraga is an 11 point... I think a 12.0. 11.8 or 11.8 or a 12.0. Yes, his command 1 cannot measure up to Ruby Spark, but that command 2, oh my goodness. Burst commands usually aren't that strong. That's unusual. Anyway, the support 4 and the Darkness 5 are just another part of Vincent's all well-rounded damaging kit. Sephiroth. Sephiroth is here because he should be, but he's going to be a lower tier because Sephiroth is definitely not meant to do fire damage. He just can. So Sephiroth's OSB, Heaven's Light, is dark and fire damage for 12.0. And he has a Soul Break, Nibelheim Nightmare that gives him attach fire. This is C tier stuff, but it is fire damage. So he you use your Soul Break, give yourself attach fire, then use OSBs with it. That's it. Mission accomplished. That was an easy one, at least. Alina. She's going to be coming soon. But all she has is a BSB and a Super Soul Break. Let's see if they're any good. Alina's BSB, Instant Cast. That's nice. Instant Cast Imperil Fire. Okay. I'm on board with this so far. Ninja Cast Time commands. Okay. But uninspiring commands beyond that. We have a 1.1 multiplier group and a 1.88. So you're probably not going to be using these that much. I mean, you can because they're Ninja Cast Time, but you'd prefer to stack these up with, or stack the Imperil Fire with 5-star abilities. I believe she's primarily a sharpshooter. Combat Celerity 4 and Sharpshooter. Yeah, so she's a Ruby Sparker as well. Super Soul Break grants attach fire. So that actually goes together well. 8 random at 0.97. That's a... Yeah, they only take the tax on bursts, don't they? She got... Sorry, man. I've been up for a while. She doesn't get a Legend Dive. I think the instant entry is cool, but beyond that, she's not really going anywhere. So C. This hell son of a bitch. It's either feast or famine with this group of people, isn't it? So Zell is formerly known as a non-elemental monk, has ascended the ranks into the elemental category with his USB. "12 single attacks at instant speed. Already we're off to a damn good start. Attack and defense plus 30% to the user. Okay, good. And grants attach fire and burning blow follow-up to the user. So let's take a look at what burning blow follow-up is. Because already, this is real nice. Burning blow follow-up is a 2.08, so what? 0.02 off from Sabin's chase. The difference between the two is does 4 attacks instead of 6, and is non-conditional. But like I said about Sabin's, the condition is really easy to hit with him because of all the attack buffs that he has available to him. Burning blow follow-up casts burning blow after dealing a critical hit. So you must be able to crit with some sort of regularity with Zell for him to be of any use, really. Which is okay. Because he has access to a legend dive, or a legend materia relic. That grants him critical 50% at the beginning of the battle. Which really works well with Zell, of course. So you kind of need either that, or you need to have his BSB to cast along with his USB, because it gives a critical 50% buff to the entire party. Or you need to have an external source of critical 50%. Aiko comes to mind. She's a fantastic source of it. And if you have one of these, preferably the LMR, because that's the only one that doesn't have to be, some external thing that you have to work for to get. Shit. As long as you have these, he has an extremely powerful USB. I prefer Sabin's because it's more reliable. Hitting the attack threshold that he needs for 6 hits with that is less finicky, less fidgety. I don't know, whatever, you get it. Than requiring an LMR to enable his USB or an external source. Zell still remains S tier, in my opinion. Wait, Garnet goes Super Saiyan? Yeah, sort of. I don't know. That seems exaggerated. But she does get a trance. And a USB, and she gets Bard 5. Which is cool. Totally cool. I'm fine with that. Well, anyway, Zell with just his USB and LMR are S tier. And then, his BSB is probably always going to be relevant because it's not elemental and grants crit chance to the party. That's pretty effective. It's instacast as well. Awesome. What's this BSB2 do? Attach fire. Scared to see the commands. Ugh, grants Monk 15%. Boost 3. Worth? Eh. So, Zell just gets saddled with another ultra powerful fire USB. I'm tired of talking about him, but I didn't decide to do this. They did. Irvin is more commonly known to Global as a debuffing support. And his Burst Soul Break 1 does fire damage, but it's not really a fire burst. It just does fire damage and, stat debuffs. But they decided to go all in on Irvin as a sharpshooter instead of a support with his USB and BSB2. His USB is attack and magic minus 50%, so that's nice and supporty. But further on, we see sharpshooter, quick cast, and clean shot follow up to the user. So let's take a look at sharpshooter, quick cast, and clean shot follow up. Cast speed times 2 for sharpshooter abilities. All right. Clean shot follow up. Cast clean shot after using 3 sharpshooter abilities. 3 with a 15-second duration. Well, that's kind of iffy. I hope it's good. Clean shot follow up is a 2.4 multiplier, which isn't very high. So the payoff needs to be inside the whatever is bestowed upon the chase itself, and it causes crash minus 70% for 8 seconds range attack. No, I'm not cutting it off. Yeah, what Adia says. I'm finishing this one and then I'm stopping. I won't do magic tonight, that's fine. Crash minus 70% is just a unique status that provides minus 70% defense and resistance. It's a pretty heavy percentage, but still only 14% versus Magicite bosses, so not really all that impactful there. Elsewhere, a lot, and it's only for 8 seconds, so you need to time it really well. It is a very good debuff. As long as you time it properly and outside of Magicite dungeons. Like it's the 14%, like I said. Doesn't do a whole lot. So I don't really like Irvin's damage dealing. He does grant him sharpshooter quick cast, that's nice, but he's more of a debuffer than he is a damage dealer. He can deal it, and the sharpshooter quick cast gets him there, and the clean shot follow up is helpful after 3 attacks. So let's see if this BSB is any better at dealing damage. Smart Ether on second command and Ninja Cast Time on first command. So no, not really. Well, I would say he's B. Sorry, I'm going to go back and try to apply dates to these people. Lock is the Final Fantasy VI event. Absolutely. December 28th. Sabin is the second banner of that event. Cyan is released, Cloud is released, Vincent released, Sephiroth released. Alina is very soon. November 9th. Zell is also very soon. But he appears on 2 banners. Zell is in 3 days. Irvin is much further away. This banner also features Zell on it though, so I actually like the banner. Because Irvin's gun is a plus 6 star fire weapon. Kind of neat. Okay, and now we move on to Steiner. So Steiner is generally considered to be a fire spellblade knight guy. His USB is the first thing we're going to take a look at, and that is 10 single attacks, resistance plus 100% to the user for 25 seconds, and grants Inspired Blade. Inspired Blade is a weird status. It grants Attach Fire, Ice, Lightning, after taking Fire, Ice, or Lightning damage from a BLK, WHT, BLU, or SUM attack used by another ally. So, it's meant to mimic how the game plays out in Final Fantasy IX when you use one of his Spellblade abilities, where, you know, if Vivi's in the party, he'll cast the ability on Steiner's sword and then he'll use it to attack with. In this, you actually just have to attack the character and cause them damage, but that's okay. Because Steiner has a backup plan. Steiner has a trance mode. Restores HP for 100% of the user's maximum HP and grants Steiner trance when HP falls below 20%. So it actually is okay for you to attack Steiner, as long as you can correctly judge how much damage you're going to do, so you can bring him below 20% HP so he immediately heals back up to full. And the idea is, by doing this, you're making up for the fact that you've done that by giving him enough damage to get there. I personally don't believe it is worth it. Because here's the issue with most trance modes. It's okay to attack people because normally it happens at the start of the fight, where you don't have a whole lot of, you know, physical or magic buffs going, and you use, you know, these charging abilities like, you know, a weak Chain Thandaga, or, you know, a life siphon on someone to trigger their trance mode, right? You can't do that with Steiner because you can't preemptively attack him with an ability to trigger this. So what you would need to do is use Steiner's USB at the very start of the fight. So as soon as you use the USB, then you can take a hit from somebody before, you know, buffs get into place. So I don't really like how this all works. It could have been a beautiful symphony of dealing damage and getting tranced and stuff like that, but it doesn't. I don't think it works. I think it's trying a little too hard to get into character of Final Fantasy IX, and not hard enough. They needed to go the extra mile to make sure that it actually worked. But that is not the end of Steiner, because he does have a trance. And his trance is attack and defense plus 25% and increases all elemental damage dealt by 25%. So that's not bad at all. That's not bad at all. So let's see if we can find another soul break of his that, you know, merits this. And he does get a BSB2 with the release of its USB. Let's see if it works together well with it. Grants haste, sentinel, and burst mode to the user. .4 on the first command. And 1.66. It's just plain Jane tri-elemental commands. So now don't really care for this at all. The sentinel that's given on the entry is not going to increase damage output a lot, and it's definitely not what it used to be as far as tanking was concerned. Definitely looking for cover legend materia for tanking stuff moving into the future. Steiner, is there anything else you can do? Well, his OSB is pretty damn good. 13.0 multiplier if exploiting elemental weakness, and he has 3 elements working for him. Yeah, I think Steiner's going to be a B. He would be C because of this Burst Soul Break 1 and OSB, which are a neat combo, but a little dated. But when you throw that excellent trance mode into the mix, I think he exceeds that. So that moves him up to a B. And we get Steiner and his stuff at the next Final Fantasy IX event. December 7th. Zell is October. Yeah, he is. I just put November for some reason. Hammurant. Well, this is going to be an easy one. Hammurant has been a forgotten character from before we did the last tier list. So there isn't really much to say here. He does fire damage. But that's it. See? I'll probably move him down to D with Gilgamesh. If Sephiroth is going to be a C, then I think Amarant and Gilgamesh deserve to be moved down. Next up is Oron. So Oron is a fire samurai. He wasn't always a fire samurai, but with the release of his USB, he became one. 8 single attacks, attack, defense, and resistance minus 50%, and grants Sentinel to the user for 25 seconds, and also grants Magic Blink 1 to all allies. That's just a high utility USB that does fire damage. And because it grants Sentinel, that allows him to be a Tauntaliator. And this is not what it used to be, but that attack, defense, and resistance debuff plus Magic Blink is always going to be good. Or at least the Magic Blink will always be useful. The attack, defense, and resistance is just gravy, I suppose. No, Oron does get him fired, just not on the USB cast. The USB cast is him basically being a utility character. Uh, the BSB2 is the attach fire. We'll go take a look at the commands, but I don't expect much. Four single attacks and two single attacks in Dark Bargain. There's really nothing special going on here. Yeah, I totally would too, Piazza. So I'm going to actually have to toss him in C. Balthier. Balthier's actually good. His USB Volcano T grants Attach Fire, Quick Cast 1, and Machinist Quick Cycle 2. So that means... grants Quick Cast 1 after using Machinist ability. This doesn't seem like much now, since he's a fire damage dealer and you're probably going to use your Ruby Spark with him. But when we do get his USB, we get a new Machinist ability that does a 6-hit fire barrage. So he just quick cycles through that Machinist ability, does damage. If there's an issue going on with Balthier, is that this USB doesn't provide it with any stat boosts or anything else besides just quick casting every single turn. I suppose they try to do it to outweigh the fact that Machinist abilities are really powerful, but all they did was pave the way for when the ability upgrade comes and everything else gets moved up to 4 hits. And chisels away at the lead that the Machinist abilities have, then this is actually a USB that's lacking. Compared to others. So Balthier is actually looking like A tier. It looks like his the functionality of his BSB 2, not BSB 1. His BSB 1 is almost tiny B. Causes Imperil Fire 20%, and I believe the commands start trying to stack Imperil Fire as well. And then his Legend Materia. LMR is 25% chance to dual cast Machinist. And his LM2 is 30% chance to cast Minor Imperil Fire to the target after using Machinist ability on enemy. This is a lot of stuff. And he gets an OSB as well. I'm gonna put him in A for now. Oh, Thancred. Kasatsu Katan. Sorry. It's really just bad. They switched him into a poison thief at some point. So this BSB is really old. And it's really bad. It's really bad. So if Oron is a C, that would make Thancred a D. Is that okay? Gilgamesh, Amarant. Is he better than Amarant? I don't know. I don't think so. D. Ida. Ida's a lot better. Yeah, Thancred has 2 BSBs, but the other one is poison, non-elemental. I plan on reviewing all of these anyway. So Ida is definitely a hell of a lot better at dealing fire damage than Thancred is. Ida has a USB Furious Flurry that is 8 single attacks, grants attached fire, and Monk instant cast 3 and physical blink 3 to the user. This is really cool because Monk fire abilities are pretty damn strong. So upon casting this, it's kind of similar to Lulu's USB in a way. It's not as awesome, but still good because the Monk instant cast 3 will only apply to Monk abilities. In this case, most likely Fires Within, which gets buffed fairly high to 3.4 multiplier and over 4 hits. It's really nice. So what you'll be doing is use the USB, use Fires Within 3 times, and then probably Life Siphon once, and do it again. This is very fast damage, which is nice. And I think is okay to put in B tier. Is there anything else that could move her up further? No, our BSB 1 is bad. Or BSB is bad. Yep. Oh yeah, her Legend Dive. Uh, 35% chance to dual cast Monk. That may actually be worth A. I mean, instant monking 3 times after USB cast is... That's going to be a lot of damage at the prime part of the fight immediately. Why not S? Not even close to the damage output of the people in S. Rank 5, I don't think that's necessary. Rank 3 is 6 uses. So you life siphon up to USB. Then you instant 3 uses of Fires Within. You got 3 left over. So the next USB will allow you to use the other 3. Fight's going to be done by then. RNG based? She's not RNG based at all. Oh, what are you doing? Not Delita. I guess dual cast Monk is RNG. Delita. Wait, someone mentioned Sid. He does do fire damage, huh? With his USB. Attach fire, short quick cast, wildfire finisher. So I think we're going to have to add him to the list. Oh, so wildfire finisher is one of those, like the Alpha no Kuja thing, right? Seven single range attacks that deal damage for 4.29%. How did they come up with that number? Of the damage dealt with machinist attacks. This actually sounds good. Wildfire Finisher keeps track of all the damage dealt with machinist abilities for its duration. Wildfire deals fixed damage per hit equal to 4.29% of this total damage, with each hit being normally capped at 9,999. God, it's so hard to gauge what kind of damage output something like this does. He does get quick cast as well, doesn't he? Yeah, he does. And attach fire. So it's a lot of machinist abilities. It is hard to evaluate without testing. Oh, his Legend Dive, I believe, is quite good. Yeah, 35% chance to dual cast Machinist. And Machinist abilities deal 15% more damage. Or LMR, Machinist abilities deal 25% more damage when equipping a gun. Seems really good. Like, really good. Really good. Sid does Balthier better than Balthier does. Alright, so Delita. Delita's USB King Apparent. 10 single attacks, does a higher multiplier of exploiting elemental weakness. Grants Bushido to the user for 25 seconds. Bushido, pretty sure, increases your attack by 30% and defense by 25%. And grants instant cast 2 to the user. So, this is just good. This is good multi-elemental damage. It's 4 elements. Fire, Ice, Lightning, and Holy. Well, back when Sid was an Earth Machinist, yeah, you sucked ass. I think we placed delete at B. Check out his Legend Materia. 35% chance to dual cast Spellblade. I think Delita's issue is that he used to be pretty cool when bursts were pretty cool. Because he gets a plus 50% crit damage buff on his commands and entry for the BSB. And having Bushido made all of those hit a hell of a lot harder. But with Spellblades getting buffed to 4 hits, that just makes his BSB commands hit as hard as Spellblades. And it's not like those Spellblades you cast with his USB don't get crit buff either. No, Mists. That's what I'm trying to. The point I'm trying to make now is that his BSB is no longer makes sense with his USB. I place him at B tier. Even with the dual casting Spellblades. And Instacast 2 is nice though. But Bushido and Instacast 2, I don't know. Bushido is a nice status. A really nice status. And I just want to check to make sure it's 30% attack and 25% defense. 25% resistance. Yeah, I already said the crit. I knew the crit was there. I just was a little unsure of the stats. B. Well, it is Dragon, but this is 30% attack, 25% resistance, and 50% crit rate. That does not make you a Shisui. Lon. Lon. Alright, I'm gonna go walk around for a couple seconds. You guys want to take a look at this? I'll update it. Argue with me some when I get back.